And we are on the air.
On the air. It is Suzilla. Yes, it is Susie. It is Matt. It is Susie Health Solutions. It is Wenatchee, Washington. It's Thursday, but it's not like 8 o'clock in the morning. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning. We're running a little late today because we've been planning things.
Yes, we are in the middle of another launch.
I don't know if middle is the right word for it.
Well,
we're in the initial third of it, I suppose you could say.
There is, your great idea, and there is a goal, and you're somewhere in between.
Yes.
And that's where we're at. We're somewhere in between.
I think we're still, we've got a lot of details to the great idea that we're still hashing out, but that still puts us past the great idea.
Yeah.
We're in the initiation stage, I guess.
Yeah, and
initialization stage. There's a word.
Yeah, and it's launching ideas into making them a reality. Mm-hmm. You kind of alternate between two places.
Uh-huh.
And one is leader, because you're getting ready to lead.
Okay.
And the other is support.
Okay.
Because you got to boost this thing above your head.
Yeah, it never hurts to have somebody supporting you for that one. Otherwise, you might just fall right over.
Well, yeah, it's one of the things that you like I said, you've got to alternate those two positions.
Okay.
To make for a successful launch.
Okay.
Most people don't realize that until they're knee deep and they're wondering why they've got no employees. Well, did you support them? No. There's your problem.
I did, but they didn't want to work.
Yeah, and that's one of those big ones. Or did your kid get into that school? Did you help that process along?
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of those key moments of it's like, yeah, you can't push just push them out of the nest. Say, hey, join the army, get out of here.
Well, but that used to be the thing. I mean, the whole just throw them in the lake and see if and that'll teach them how to swim thing.
Yeah, and you can do that, but sometimes they drown.
Uh-huh. I mean, I've been thrown to the wolves in training situations more than once.
Yeah, that was kind of fun this morning because we were working with someone and it was like we're all three of us, we're looking at each other and it's like, oh my gosh, we've been thrown to the wolves so many times. This is refreshing.
Yeah, because we were being offered a full training setup.
Yeah.
To learn something new.
Yeah, like, we can't get into too much detail.
No, but it was very exciting.
Yeah, but it was just like, oh, this is refreshing.
I know.
And that's we found someone that connected and that support.
Yes.
It's like, okay. And you gotta, when you're, leader, yeah, you've got to lead, but there are times when you've got to also support.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, sometimes the leader needs support from the people around him too.
Leader always needs support.
I know, but sometimes the leader doesn't realize it. No, a good leader realizes it, but a dictator doesn't.
I
got politic brain on.
Yeah, you got politic brain, and it was.
I mean, there's those who are. The word leader always implies somebody who's actually, a good. Who's well. I think we had the conversation of the difference between a leader and a manager, right? Is that what it was? Or.
Well, a manager usually is behind everyone cracking a whip, and a leader's up front.
Right. Where a manager might just throw you to the wolves, a leader will actually be alongside beating the wolves off with a stick with you.
Yeah, because if you go down, they go down.
Exactly.
When I was in the Army and we were doing patrols, leader was usually 2-3 back.
Mm-hmm.
Because you didn't want him taken out in the front ambush,
but
he needed to be directing things along the way.
Right, and he couldn't be in the back because then he's just going to get shot in the back.
Because he's not leading at that point.
He's not leading at that point, but you got to have someone taking point for, and those guys are all the support. There's a process to it all.
Yeah, you do like I said, each team member's got their jobs.
Exactly.
But that support, we actually had someone stop by our office yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And yoinked a couple bags.
Yes, a couple of our super cool rainbow pride bags.
And that was one of the things. It's like, oh, cool, because they were having a problem up in Chelan.
Yes. One of the high school kids was creating a gay straight alliance club, and one of the churches was pushing back on them very hard. So they threw a pride event directly across the street from that church.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we wanted to support that because we think that's the right move.
But it was one of those things. They ran in and said, "Hey,
can I have a couple of bags?"
Because they noticed that we had a couple of bags on social media because we got them for our Pride event on the 18th. And so it's like, yeah, sure, here, have some. And it's like, okay, awesome. It's just like, and this morning I'm like looking at, seeing all these wonderful shots of the Pride. It's like, well, where are the bags? And it's
okay. I was looking at it, and I was just seeing the wonderful young and old and light and dark and the wonderful diversity of group of people out there going rah rah. We support everybody. And the fact that our bags were there and we're not in those photographs, I wasn't too concerned about it.
Yeah, but I there was like 20, 30 photographs in it. It's just like, maybe I just don't have the right feed.
I just don't think you've got the right batch of photographs.
However, the thing is, and this is what we talked with other, is you gotta, if you're grabbing for support, you acknowledging that support is incredibly important.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I think what you ran into is you did not see the right photo. I imagine we've got pictures out there. We just haven't seen them.
I'm hoping that's what it is. But we got into some planning. And it's like, look, it's awesome that people are doing the hey, but don't wave the flag of socialism and expect a taco truck to show up.
Okay, you're gonna have. I know what you mean. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to clarify for the listeners.
Okay, well, because we're on the more, I guess, progressive side of things or liberal side of things.
Yeah,
we're on the left spectrum.
Yeah.
Actually, we're really center spectrum. If you study politics, we're considered centrists.
Yeah.
In how we do things, we believe in a balance. The United States, though, there's a large portion that is very right fascist leaning.
Yeah, which makes us seem surprisingly
tofu-y. Yeah, kumbaya, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, in fact, we're actually quite moderate in many ways.
Yeah, we are. It's one of those ones. It's like, you're pico commies. It's like, okay, cool. We'll study some politics and then come back and tell me that.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at.
Yeah, we've had that conversation a couple of times.
But here's the thing: and I've had to point this out to quite a few of my friends that have said that have clamored to the social. I'm a socialist,
mm-hmm.
and these are young business owners,
mm-hmm.
and I had to point out that they do know that there are different definitions of capitalism out there.
Oh yeah.
They didn't.
So they probably don't even know what the definition of socialist is.
Yeah, they're clamoring to this, this one flag, and saying that all capitalism is bad. And it's like, well, wait a minute, you're grabbing this one narrow definition of socialism and claiming all of capitalism is bad, when there's different degrees of it.
Mm-hmm.
However, as business owners, we're in the capitalism side of things.
Yeah, because we're not in we still have to keep our lights on.
Yeah,
we have to. I mean, otherwise we can't help anybody.
Yeah,
and if if I don't go broke and end up living in my car because of it, I'm glad of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I help other people not go broke and live in their car, I'm glad of that too.
Yeah. So there's some teamwork involved in this.
Yeah, you don't have to sacrifice everything you have to support the next guy.
However, this is important. You can't sit there and badmouth all the businesses and expect business to show up and support you.
No, that is definitely the taco truck issue. You can't say, you guys are all evil, yeah, blah, blah. We're awesome because we're, capitalists are not, all capitalists are bad. Well, you know what? A lot of those small businesses, they're capitalists. They're all capitalists.
We're all capitalists.
You can't expect some of those small businesses who are struggling, to make ends meet because of some of the more progressive rules, to embrace fully your weirdly skewed socialist attitude.
Yeah, and there's definitely a culture. We see a lot because when we talk healthcare, it's like, okay, cool. You want a Medicare for all system? Awesome. What system are you using now? Well, I get a plan from an employer. Okay, so you're buying into. Have you ever bought health insurance for your own? No. So you have no idea what the marketplace is.
Exactly.
Or I've even encountered some that would say, "Hey, I want Medicare for all." Oh, okay, what insurance do you currently have? I don't have any. Well, for a Medicare for all, everyone contributes. Even with the current capitalistic system we have, everyone contributes, or you start to get cracks in the system. So it's a dance.
It is.
The social systems are a dance, and one of the things that we see time and time again is this failure to promote others' businesses. We do our best to support. We're rather sneaky about it.
Yeah, we can be.
I think my favorite response was Donnie, who's our local Molina rep.
Love you, Donnie.
Was doing the, hey, you guys are going to Pride?
Duh. Did he really do that?
He really did that when he saw the bags.
Come on, Donnie. How would you think we weren't?
And I was just like, you haven't been paying attention for like the last decade when we got into like gay rights, and I was advocating for gay rights over annuities. And it was.
Well, to be fair, he's got a lot on his plate lately.
He's got a lot on his plate lately.
So much on his plate that he didn't get a chance to order the banners he needed for Pride.
Yeah, and that was. I think he might have been the group that bought them all up last year. But it's that you got to show your support. And it's like, yeah, we've been supporting for a long time, and here's the receipts.
So, are you looking for quid pro quo?
Not necessarily,
because we're going to show our support, our Pride support,
regardless. Because we've been doing human rights for a long time,
and we're not doing it to advertise ourselves. We're not doing it to make ourselves. Well, yeah, we all do things to make ourselves feel better. We're not doing this like, say, Target, who might throw down some rainbow T-shirts because it's good for business. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Well, that and there was a bunch of jerks that did a bunch of damage.
Yes,
that's how we got into this thing.
That was definitely a trigger.
because it was like, no, we're not going to deal with bullies in our community.
No,
and it's like
we will stand up to bullies.
And it's like, yeah, we've had to do a bunch of advocacy, just doing our job, and most people don't realize that our job. Yeah, sometimes we have to straighten out some things. One of the classic examples that we had come to us was a gay couple. We've been doing gay couples
always.
Yeah, the first year was kind of a little bit tough using the Affordable Care Act in our state.
Yeah, well, we did because marriage wasn't an option there.
Yeah, well, it was, but
it wasn't a marriage. It was a domestic partnership.
No, it was a marriage then.
When we started ACA, it was domestic partnership.
No, we got marriage in our state in 2012. It really did, but the software around it kind of made it funky.
Yeah.
And so the first year or so it was a couple years into it, and we had it was a wonderful couple that came to us, and it's like they had an income adjustment or something, and I'm like, why are you two separate? Well, because this particular organization separated us. It's like, you're married, and it was one of those. You're married. You should be together.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, come open enrollment. We're gonna put these plans together.
Mm-hmm. And they got a better deal for it.
Yeah, and they got a better deal for it.
Because that's what we do.
But yeah, most people don't realize. It's like, yeah, we've been doing this thing forever. Yeah, it was the first year. It was a little bit shaky, and it was coming from our conservative industry. Because insurance is a very conservative industry.
It is. It's very much so.
We had to carve out things.
Oh, yeah. We had to create all kinds of interesting stuff.
Pronouns was one.
Yeah. We had to create our own little add-on to make sure that we address people by their preferred pronouns.
Yeah.
It's something that should be a basic.
Yeah.
It's not yet.
So it's one of those things. So yeah, that's our effort to going out and being a leader.
Uh-huh.
Is, hey, let's grab these tools and make these tools new and shiny and work in the situation. And then as a supporter, we utilize those tools and share them with others.
Correct.
So that's that lead, support, lead again. And so we got this motion going of moving a project forward, and we've really done that really well with health insurance. This was one of the LGBTQ community was one of the communities that had a serious health inequality.
Yes.
And it was really pointed out with the ARPA tax credits, it just on how much of a positive impact it would have.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was several of the different pride chapters around the state. I'm like, hey, look, you guys need to be talking about this because this is a chance that some of this inequality can be balanced out.
Mm-hmm. Which would be a good thing.
Which would be a good thing. I did promote that. I had to promote that a couple times because it was one of those ones. It's like, yeah, if some group is suffering needlessly in our community, we all suffer for it.
That's true.
It's one of those important things to take it. So launching. Launching requires, you've got a vision, and then you've got to kind of build.
Yes.
And because we're in the building process where we collect data, and plans and systems,
and sort out which direction we want to go. If we want to take this step or that step, and we come to a why, and we need to decide which fork of the road we want to take. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the whole building process and working with our new person to see the direction they want to go.
Yeah.
Because we need to support. That's where we are support. And then once as a team, we decide, the direction, which fork in the road we want to take, pick up the leadership thing because we've got more experience than they do. So maybe that's where we can lead. And then when it's time for them to take the lead, we support. And it's all a partnership mishmash.
Yeah, it's a partnership mishmash is a good way of putting it. We actually run ours, we're joking, it's like, yeah, we run like a pirate ship. Everyone gets their share.
That's right. You do your work, you get your share.
And that is a concept that is really lost.
Unfortunately.
because you hear about that with the gig economy.
Yes.
It's like, oh well, hey, if a company is not paying benefits,
Mm-hmm.
they're ripping off the employee. What if there's no employees?
There you go. Then they're just ripping off the community.
Yeah, and that's the viewpoint. It's like, no, if you're running as a bunch of equals, you all got equity being built.
Yeah. But the problem is they're not looking at people that aren't them as equals. They're looking at us versus them because they don't have because they don't have the right color hat on.
Yeah. They got a yellow hard hat instead of a white one.
Yeah. Although this is completely off topic. I was watching a video of someone in like Finland or something, and their hard hat was transparent.
That's weird.
It was cool.
I know we had white, yellow, and blue out of treetop.
And those were those were indicators of your status.
Yes.
Yes. These were clear. They were see-through. You could see the top of someone's little head.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
Is it because you don't have no hairs?
No, because we had hairnets and stuff.
So well, that's true. You had hair then.
Oh, and we had all of us wore hairnets, regardless of.
Well, no, it's because you were in food production. You wear hairnets when you're in food production, whether or not you have hair. And if you have a beard, you wear a beard net. Actually, you weren't allowed to have a full beard. You could have a mustache.
Correct.
You had a mustache.
Yeah, I think that if I remember right, recently they've got to the beard status, but it was one of those ones. It was definitely. It was strange because it's a co-op.
Yeah.
But the employees on the line were not very co-op.
No, there was no ownership from the employees. Mm-hmm. The orchardists were the co-op, and they were acting like a big bunch of jerks sometimes.
And that's on how you set up structures.
Yeah, and that's
part of that whole. Getting ready to launch. What structure do you want your business to?
Exactly. And structures, and be prepared to morph over the years. When the Treetop Co-op was originally set up was, hey, let's get all of us together. We'll bring all of our apples together and we'll, have a larger group to negotiate with the big industries that we sell our apples to. And then they hired employees and always it wasn't at that early on. I think there was even employee owned kind of concept. I think you even had some opportunities for the employees to buy in and be part owners.
But yeah,
and eventually got to the point where the co-op is just a word, and it's a bunch of fat cats abusing the employees.
Yeah, you don't see very many co-ops these days, and they're not easy to set up. Because I looked at it briefly a couple of years ago of actually setting up a co-op concerning Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like there's actual different organizations that help you set up co-ops, but they are very they felt very clumsy.
Yeah, I don't think they've really gotten into the 21st century, the co-op idea.
No, I don't think it transferred well.
No. Well, they were very, very 70s tofu-y, 60s, 70s tofu-y.
Well, partnerships are another one that are really,
and you got to be
really kind of funky on dealing with because of different tax laws.
Exactly,
because you're dealing with ownership stuff.
Exactly, and that's where things get hairy, is with taxes and payroll and who gets what share and.
Well, we've got a society that you've got a kind of a top, top 5% that are really driving what the remaining society does.
Exactly. And what we were discussing earlier today off mic here was those tippy top ones. They are concerned at their focus is themselves and their immediate, what they consider their peer group, the white hats, as it were.
Yeah.
And then as far as they're concerned, everybody that isn't them is poor. There's no middle class. There's no group moving up. There's just, you're either where they are in their little mansions in the sky, or you're living in a dirt floor shack. There's no middle ground there. They don't recognize that.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and it's a problem. We see that on the left and right.
Oh yeah, because that middle group, that's your small business people.
Yeah, and it's really your small business people, and you can get little bands, and I've done this freaking for decades. I was doing this in poetry, where we would band together and produce events.
Yeah,
and we'd come together and produce events, woohoo, split up the kitty and go off on our separate ways.
That's a very co-op-y kind of feel.
It's a very co-op-y thing. And it's like you can do the same thing in business.
Yes. It's just more complicated.
It's slightly more complicated. There's more contracts involved.
Exactly.
However, I think that socially, it's not accepted for us poor people to be doing that.
No, not. I mean, from a tippy top 1% attitude.
No, I'm talking poor people working together.
Oh no, that's discouraged.
That's
a union
versus working for someone else.
See, poor people working together. That's where unions started.
Yeah.
And that ain't a popular thing in the rich.
But that is a working together under something.
Yes.
And I'm actually talking working together to kind of move through and creating something new. I mean, it's very primal.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, what'd you do? Your little tribes got together and you worked through a hostile environment.
Yeah.
You'd have a campfire together. Hey, if you got a deer, you split up a deer.
Well, it wasn't always that simple, though.
No. However, that whole survival thing of it's a mean, cruel world.
Oh, yeah.
Still very apt today.
Oh, yeah. Because it is a mean, cruel world.
It's a mean, cruel world. Yeah. And that working together, but for some reason, socially, that's not seen as an option.
No. It's not seen as an option to work together and share.
And it's seen that your only escape methods of of being that dirt poor poverty is working underneath someone else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the exchanges, the Washington Health Exchange basically is aimed at that because they make it difficult for somebody who doesn't get a W-2 every year because they're working for somebody else to declare their income.
That is by the tax laws dictated to them.
So it's the federal government firing that.
It's the federal government.
There's a distinct. I'm rich. I got mine. Heck with you. And if you want to start your own business, we're going to make it difficult.
We're going to make it a little bit difficult. We're going to have to spend a little bit of money to get an accountant to
crank the numbers.
Walk through a profit and loss statement.
Yeah.
On demand.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have enough skill that you can produce a profit and loss statement on demand.
Yeah. Among other things.
Among other things. That's the big one there.
Yeah.
And that's part of building that team around you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Who's your support? You can't if you're really moving fast, you can't do it all.
That's absolutely true.
And you build up additional skills. For example, yes, we work in a very boring industry.
It's not.
And people view it as a boring industry.
Insurance is not the most party oriented. Well, actually, there's a lot of parties going on. It's just all behind the scenes.
It's all behind the scenes. It's like someone was like, oh, hey, you know what? We should do a only you forum and have it just OSHA violations. And I'm like, you've never
OnlyFans.
And I was like, you've never looked at the dark insurance forums because we'll show you all of the ugly things.
Oh yeah.
Because we've seen it 100 different ways.
And we've all seen it. And we've kind of gotten a little bit cold to it. We've got to be getting close to time.
We are at close to time, and So here's the thing. If you're going to launch something, you're going to alternate between leader and supporter.
Accept support as well.
Yes. And
you do not have to do it all on your own.
If you're gonna successfully launch something, you can't do it all by yourself. You got to find the players around you. So hey, have a great day, and